buy them, StreamYard. Buys, you give them second and third chances.
Not anymore.
When they're rude, you not only tolerate it, but you work with them to change the behavior. And I know what that means for my kid personally and for the other kids that we all try and raise together. So we're not going to see the large federal dollars that flow to education before as little as 2 years ago again, anytime soon. We've lost $4.5 million over the past 3 years since I've been on the board. After ARA funds were gone, it's been $4.5 million. You know we cut transportation, languages, healthy living, everything that we're not mandated to do except golf and tennis, which personally I think we could probably afford to cut. But it wouldn't get us very far. Not that I don't like golf and tennis. I'm sorry, anybody plays golf and tennis. But our athletic program struggles to keep up with the surrounding districts. And the surrounding districts have a higher, wealthier tax base than ours. And so the current structure of the contract means that this community has to keep up with a wealthier surrounding districts. And that fundamentally, after Act 46 left us with no choice. So if we can find common ground, I have faith that we can pull together and we can work through this, and our community can design our public education system to make it the end of Vermont. And I don't want to be in this situation that we're in, but I feel like our silent partners have really put us all up against the wall. Thank you.
It's very unfortunate that the board and the union haven't reached an agreement over the last 12 months. Very unfortunate for all of us, kids included. Not against any one of you teachers. I've never insulted any one of you teachers. I'm actually insulted that you actually said that. Never had a bad word to say about any teacher in this district. My son is in college this year, graduating, and he's starting to teach. Okay, this is all part of our lives too. This is not an easy decision to impose a contract. I don't know what you think, but I mean, the district really doesn't have money. I've been sitting on the IPC for 3 years, just trying to keep the building upright. We bond for that every year. We put money into these buildings. We try to do the best we can. There's no extra money. I don't know why everybody thinks there's this golden pot. There's no rainbow here. There's no leprechaun with golden pot of gold. Nothing left. I hope that you guys can get through this. I hope we can work through this. I really don't want to impose a contract on anybody. I just want to get through this. I want to do the best for our community. Our students are the ones that are going to the most. And the community is part of that too. We have to think about everybody else.
I taught for 40 years. I've taught in public schools. I've taught in private schools. My last job was at St. Michael's College for 25 years. Public school was hard for me. Public school teaching is not easy. And my heart says, I wish you guys believed that we believe that. Because we didn't agree to pay 3.25 increase and have to find $425,000 someplace, doesn't mean we don't think you guys are fantastic. My kids went to public schools. Both of my kids are in education. One teaches a youth film, he could never teach in a public school. It's hard. And I was really hopeful that with our last offer, which gives teachers $1,800 extra this year, and brings people to the middle of the middle, increase, some people with 4% increase. When the average worker in Vermont doesn't get 0.5, our offer said $1,800, you're in the middle of the middle or a little bit better. I don't get it. And just, with this math teacher back here, this is my first year on the board. And I keep saying to myself, why does this system have to happen? And I have to say, I feel like there's the teachers and then there's the union. What are the teachers saying? Are they wanting a 3.25% increase and to be able to continue paying 15%? And I also don't think it's the money that you guys care about. Because you're teachers. You wouldn't be teachers if you cared about the money. I think it's a sense of insult that you feel.
Trying to divide us right now.
We haven't made agreement. And when I heard on Tuesday night, come back to the table, we didn't leave the table. We didn't leave the table last time. We left it this time because we had no choice. I thought to myself last night, where are we going to cut 400? Maybe lunch and breakfast. No, because that's federal money. Can't cut that. I don't know what the heck we're going to cut. And just a personal anecdote that mirrors many of the people in the community that I've spoken to, called me or emailed me. I retired 2 years ago from St. Michael's College, and before that, I got a 1% raise over 5 years. I paid over 20% towards health insurance. I'm not saying that you should, and I know there's this comparison, but many of the people in my community are saying, I can't afford it. And yes, there is the Homestead Act, but every time we increase, every time the budget's increased, people's Homestead Act money is increased. So when I hear, well, people can afford it, that's no problem. The Homestead Act. Property taxes go up, the Homestead Act doesn't. And I reached $50,000 a year, 12 months a year, after 25 years. Now, I went there to my own personal choice. Took a $10,000 cut when I went. I loved it, but it's hard for me to understand I do have to say that the surplus that people are talking about, from what I understand, cannot be touched this year. We don't have extra money. I don't know where people are getting that idea. The main thing that I want to leave you with is that I couldn't do your job. I tried it for 5 years, and then another year, and then went into preschool for 10 years, not as stressful. And then I went into higher ed, which is definitely not as stressful. I couldn't do your job. I respect every single person who is a teacher. It makes a difference in people's lives. We're not saying no to 3.25 because we don't think you're doing a good job. That's why we're saying it. Because we didn't come to a conclusion that allowed us to have a balanced budget. We are determined to not overspend. And I want to leave you with, I have the highest regard for every single one. I need to spend that. Thank you, Ms.
I have a lot of ambivalent board and the union of focusing what's important on the success of the children in our schools and charting a strategic course forward so that we have an excellent framework that we can all look to guide decisions rather than doing what this district has done in the past under previous leadership with a lot more ad hoc decision-making without a coherent framework to move forward. In my first year on the board, I've watched us as a board do our best to juggle many competing needs and to plan for future complicated needs, including physical condition of the buildings, let alone the even more complicated issue of how we support teachers doing excellent, wonderful, challenging work, working with our excellent and varied student bodies. Disagreeing about what the problems are and disagreeing about the solutions does not indicate disrespect. And I have to admit, I'm puzzled at the vehemence with which many people have expressed feeling disrespected towards the board. Both as a parent and a board member, I have always striven to express my most sincere admiration for that amazing work I've seen so many teachers doing with my kids and with her classmates and her peers in buildings at Champlain and now at Edmonds Middle School. And believe me, in some ways I'd rather be at the Edmonds Middle School curriculum night than sitting here right now. In fact, and some of you know this because you can see it on my emails, every field trip that I have been on, every music concert that I have been to, I invariably thank the teachers and CC the principal and often the superintendent to narrate back to teachers and their supervisors the fabulous ways in which I have seen learning opportunities offered for kids in Burlington. I want both teachers and the people who work around them to realize what I see when I look out at the complicated things that you manage with learning environments and importantly with relationships. So as this negotiation process has moved to where we seem to be now, I've been juggling back and forth two competing things. I certainly feel the fear about what many of you described in public comments tonight, that board imposition of policy will increase division in the community and increase animosity and hostility. A worry that I've actually been holding ever since more people started turning out over budget. The sitting and listening to the hostility from public comment is not easy. At the same time, I have fears associated about what happens if the board doesn't take the action it tends to doing if we improve this resolution, about whether lack of ending the process for the moment will also increase animosity, create a budget deficit, and overrun, leading to more problems. I'm not entirely sure what I know what we can do in terms of what our options are, and I'm still sitting here unsure of what's the best way to reach what I continue to believe are shared goals, and I am frustrated at how our shared goals seem to be obscured by this process.
Thank you. Commissioner Stoll.
I would like to thank all of you who have made comments tonight. I want to in particular thank the board. Kat, I found your comment very moving. Thank you.
I'm embarrassed my child again.
Brian, I'd like to thank you for working so hard and really respect that. Jake, I know it's a hard position to be in, and I thank you for being willing to be out there with us. I'd like to thank the members of the audience. In particular, there were several of you that taught me something tonight. I'm sorry I don't know your names, gentleman with the blue shirt. And the woman with the green shirt, I just well, pick it up. And the taught the children, really thank you. I listened carefully and I did learn something tonight. It is hard to sit here and be called names and be told one has motivations that one doesn't. It's very hard. My my daughter wanted to come tonight. My daughter, many of you know, she's very vivacious and has a lot of opinions, loves school and loves her teachers, and is very concerned. And I asked her not to come. And she hugged me and she said, "Mom, you're a good mom, you're a good person." And I'm glad she didn't come. But I also want to say that those of my colleagues that talked about the financial issues, it's real. And I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, I'm sure you all remember, unless you're a new teacher there, it came to light that there was a huge budget deficit in the district, an entrenched problem of how past administrations have designed the budget, and very, very lax financial management and no financial controls. And at that time, really, we as a board had to pull together, and the board and the administration worked really hard to figure out what to do. And at that point, at times, back then, I was right in the center of that, in the eye of it. I was worried that this district would crumble. I was worried that the AOE would come in and take us over. And there were times when it seemed incredibly overwhelming. In the last 3 years, we've sort of fought our way out of that. And we've all felt the brunt of it. Certainly with programs being cut, teachers have had to work harder. We would try something or something would be tried and we would have unintended consequences. It's been a very hard 3 years, and I acknowledge that. And at the same time, my kids have had a good 3 years in school. So, I have 3 kids in high school now, and you guys are doing a wonderful job, and I really, really respect that. I, on some level, feel relieved and happy that even though we're imposing a contract, that each of you is going to be getting more in your paycheck than you got last year, and at least that makes me feel a little better about it. I'm happy that at least we are maintaining many of the benefits that have been there before. So, again, I would just say that thank you all, thank all of you, and I'll be voting to support the motion.
Having just been sworn in on Tuesday. I would have thought had I known this was But I know this process from having been on the board before and how awful it is. And I know all of you that know me and have worked with me. I have highest respect for all of the things you do. I'm still very not clear whether I should abstain because I really don't have all of the information, but I don't think that people here on this board are willy-nilly doing this. I think that there has been a lot of work that's gone into it. I haven't been privy to most of that work, but from what I've seen of the other night trying to discuss what was going to happen here, it's very clear to me that there has been a lot of work done on this, and most of them having a real hard time imposing this. So I think what you said, being one of 6 kids and having all my sisters and brother living all over the U.S., I know what you're talking about from North Carolina. One of them lives there and I grew up there, so I know very well. And I think this is the way of what's going on across this country. And I certainly hope to God that we in the next year act together, not because we can't do it alone, can sit down and really figure out how we're going to pull this district out of going the way of North Carolina, of Chicago, of many other communities across this country, because it scares me. I mean, the backbone of a democracy is their public education, and it scares me to watch this go on across the country. So I do hope that, I know this is not going to be what you all wanted, but I do hope you will sit down and work with us, because as money gets scarce, we are going to have to really work together if we're going to keep the education going in this city.
come out of kindergarten last year reading like a champ. He can write, he wrote letters to his brothers at camp, and it was all spelled right. And yeah, he reads things and writes upside down. They all love school. They're all smart. They're all getting wonderful education. And I feel sick about this. And I am going to vote to support the resolution because I don't know what else to do. I've been on the board for a year and a half, and we have been going through every other possibility we can come up with, and there's no hidden pot of money, or we would never have cut anything. There's not a single person here who wouldn't, on this board, who wouldn't prefer to be giving you a raise and keeping the benefits the same. If we could do that and provide education without cutting per se, we would do it. And I'm puzzled, there's just a final thing, is that I'm puzzled by the sense some of you have of feeling disrespected or insulted. I want to say, and in the year and a half I've been on the board, I've never heard a disrespectful word in private or in public by the board against teachers. Never heard anyone express anything but appreciation and respect for teachers and the terrible struggle of being in this position. Yeah, I do, and you know, I sort of hesitated because I feel emotional about this as well. So, so I'll try to, you know, this is really not North Carolina. It's a very different community in a lot of ways. But we do have economic problems and constraints. And I don't hope to convince any of you about what we have considered or what has moved us to this point, but let me just share a few thoughts. I want to go to the structural factors that Liz was mentioning. And what has happened nationally is coming home to roost in Vermont. We have had an extraordinary increase in inequality in the United States in the last 30 years. One of the components of that has been cuts to the income tax of upper income groups and the corporate income tax, which has fallen from 24% to 14%, 28% to 14%. What that has meant that there are fewer federal dollars to fund education, and it's shifted therefore to the states. Many of us have been in support of shifting education funding to the income tax, which is much more progressive than the property tax, which although some people are protected to the income sensitivity, the reality is that when we increase the budget, what that means is that property owners raise rents to the most vulnerable households in the city. We have had innumerable emails from people who are on fixed income, who are also struggling. So this is what I want to make clear. This has nothing to do with disrespecting you or the work you do. But we have to have a broader lens, and we have to deal with the fact that we have had a shrinking pie. I hope that it's not that way indefinitely. But as Lauren and others have said, if we were to fund the last offer of the union, we would have had to cut almost $500,000 from the budget. It was eviscerating for us to do what we had to do last year. It was eviscerating to have to cut social workers and parent educators. We do not know what else to do. I'm hopeful that we can work legislatively with the new governor to shift to an income tax that will reduce pressures on the property tax. I'm hoping that we can move in a lot of different directions. We can continue to do this with the animosity that's existed, but there's nothing I would want more than for us to collaborate with the teachers and the teachers union. We are not opposed to you. We are struggling with the resources that we have. Sorry about the machine.
Yeah. And the last one. So, this has easily been the toughest year of my life. So, for those that want to make
negotiators in papers saying that because I don't have children, I shouldn't be representing the constituents. I can't have them. I did 30 years in the military. In 2002, I was in Banja Luka, Tuzla, Srebrenica, protecting the rights of the Bosnians to get a vote together for menial pay. I come out of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Pawtucket, Rhode Island is not exactly the vacation land of the East Coast. It's the land of tenements. I know poor. I know what it's like to struggle. And I try to represent my constituency, and instead a filthy paper is published on the Save Our Burlington Schools, where one person related to me, if you remove the word Mark Porter and Republican, you'd have a Nazi propaganda paper from just before Kristallnacht. So before you start throwing the terms towards us, or me specifically, of disrespect, you have to look closely at those of you that had to be part of this. That being said, those are my sentiments towards the union leaders. Those are not my sentiments, and I will not let them be my sentiments towards the fine teachers of Burlington. I get a little dismayed when we have, such as in the April Public Forum, when people speak in support of adding AP Biology and fourth year Latin. I get a little dismayed 2 years ago at the high school auditorium when it was presented to us that 500 people were in support of a Facebook page for Latin, and 6 people spoke in favor of us changing our minds on the social workers. I don't know where the priorities are. I know the state reports an 81% graduation rate, 7 points below the rest of them. A lot of reasons for it, I'm not saying there's not. I know we're not happy with our third grade reading. I know the demographics and the achievement gap that exists. But I don't hear anybody out here arguing to fix those things. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about some of our public forums. I don't know why people are forgetting that there's those that can't speak for themselves. I've been to those countries where they could. And I'm going to protect that. My concern in this case, and I'm convinced none of us wanted this. Anybody that tells you that this board didn't come back 6 times in the last week, 6 times with counteroffers, trying to get us there, and being told no, 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 no. We were negotiating against ourselves. Well, does this work? Well, what if we added this? We were told no, no, no. So here we sit. Well, what are we sitting on? We're sitting on a 2.75% new money. Right? Some of you are going to get a 4% raise. 5 times. 5 times. Cost of living index just in the first half of this year. We tried our best. I am not the ogre you think I am. And these publications that people want to put out there, it's a tactic to drive you between us. We didn't let that happen. We're offering 2.75% new money. The last 3-year contract was 3%. My God. We're trying our best. What we can't have is we can't have this hurt the children. We know none of you want it that to happen. We know that. 2 years ago when I came on this board, I ran under the fact that no tax increases. No tax increases. I know that. I admit that. I know it's not feasible. I know it would be damaging. I have a board that taught me that. So I'm very fortunate to be sitting here with these 11 people. Well, I'm so very proud to say I've had such a huge impact on my life. They've changed my views towards things. I still believe in small government, you know, don't get me wrong. But they've changed my views on so many things. We don't want to cut taxes. We we wanna make sure it's sustainable. We wanna make sure that it's something that can support the programs. No one loses jobs. What a perfect world. Give me a budget every year when nobody loses jobs and we don't cut any programs. We haven't had that. We have massive, there's a distrust, you may not see it all the time, there's a distrust, not for the teachers, but for this board, not from your side, but on the budget side. 10 out of 12 years, deficit spending equaling $13.9 million that the voters never got to choose. We didn't have the knowledge and the finances to know how much was being spent. $13.9 million. We only look at that as a yardstick saying we can't go there again. We can't go into deficit spending again. Because the voters did not vote that way. The other side says that we have to spend everything we give us. They said spend this much money. We spend that much money. We're not looking to save and roll over. They said spend it. In this case, with you folks, we spent it. There's just nothing left. I know you believe there is. There's just not. So one of these days, you're gonna believe us. You're gonna believe that I'm not the ogre that I'm portrayed as. Or the bully over, nice try, over this crowd. It's just not true. These are lies that are being perpetrated to get you to think of me as a different person than what I am. I've proven myself time and time again that I'm not that person. And there's some people that just don't care about it. And that's your choice. And we'll prove it again this coming year, and the year after, and the year after. This board is here for one purpose only, for the good of the children. For the good of the children. Do we all have to make sacrifices to make that happen? Sometimes in raising taxes, yes. Sometimes in constraints on salaries, yes. But it's for the good of the children. And this board is here to protect that. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Any further discussion?
One last thing that I was going to say, and that is, we need to start negotiating the next contract in a couple of weeks. One of the reasons that we should continue to move on.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we'll close discussion at this time. This time we will vote. All those on the board in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye.